We're on. Okay. And are the words going to be showing up? Okay, good. But I'll play it through my.
Welcome, everybody. Is that too loud? It sounds loud. Okay, welcome, everybody. Happy Sunday. Good to see you. My name's Deborah, and I'm your facilitator this morning. And we're going to start out with a couple of songs from Emilio. Thank you, Emilio, for being here.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you. I'm honored to be here. Good to see you all. Happy New Year. We're going to get started with a song called Sacred Place. This is our place. Oh, not yet. In love and faith we come, a place where all are welcome. This is our place. In one power we believe. As we give love we receive. Our sacred place. Sacred place, sacred place, united in love together. Sacred place, united as one together. This is our place where hearts unite as one, in love and faith we come, a place where all are welcome. This is our place, in one power we believe, as we give love we receive, our secret place. Place, sacred place, united in love together. Sacred place, united as one together. Now we're going to do God You Are by Daniel Nahmod. Here we go. Yeah, I love this song. You can put your hands together. Here we go. Woo! All right. Let's get spirited. God You Are every mountain. God You Are every ocean, God, you are. Every canyon, every inch of earth and sky, God, you are. Every morning, God, you are. Every midnight, God, you are. Every moment, every second of my life. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. God, you are. Every sunrise, God, you are. Every moon glow, God, you are. Every star shine, every inch of earth and sky, God, you are. Every springtime, God, you are. Every snowfall, God, you are. Every season, every second of my life. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. 'Cause you are the very breath I breathe. And your perfect love created me. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. One more. We're gonna do We Are One in the Spirit. Woo-hoo. We are one in the Spirit. We are one in God. We are one in the Spirit. We are one in God. And we know that our unity has this day been restored. And we know we're divine by our love, by our love. Yes, we know that we're divine by our love. We will walk. And together we'll spread the love of God in our land. And we know we're divine by our love, by our love. Yes, we know that we're divine by our love. We will work with each other. We will work side by side. We will work with each other. We will work side by side. And we'll find our divinity by knowing God inside. And we know we're divine by our love, by our love. Yes, we know that we're divine by our love. We are one with the Spirit. We are one with the earth. We are and we know that our unity will bring forth new birth, and we know we're divine by our love, by our love. Yes, we know that we're divine by our love.
And in that knowing, join me in consciousness. For we know we are divine by our love. For there is only one presence, one power, one absolute source of all things seen and unseen, and it is being me right here, right now. For there is no separation. All is one. And I am the architect of my life through my deep-held feelings and beliefs. And as I set intention and expectation, life shows up for me in the most wondrous ways. So today, I expect to be guided. I expect to know this oneness. I expect to experience it as love everywhere I look. I expect to see it through my eyes, and I expect to experience it through my heart. For it is exactly where I am, for I am one with it. So gratitude fills my being, for I am walking gratitude today. I let go and I let it be so. Please join with me in saying, and so it is.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Our daily Meister Eckhart, 14th century German mystic, taught, quote, all that God asks you most pressingly is to go out of yourself and let God be God in you, end of quote. Reflecting on Eckhart's words, I remember that whatever I'm doing, I need never feel frustrated by the limits of human wisdom and understanding. Letting go and letting God reminds me that God's presence is with me throughout every experience of my life. God's love, life, wisdom, understanding, and strength are mine. Even my inner power of release works through me whenever I call upon it. My human self, together with the indwelling presence of God, the Christ in me, brings good into my life. And from John 14:10, the words that I say to you, I do not speak on my own, but the Father who dwells in me does his work. Theme for 2020 Spiritual Vision, getting grounded back to basics. And our theme for this week, or our topic for this week, is what the mystics have taught. And the theme understanding of the golden thread of truth that lies through all religions, philosophies, and science, through an understanding of mysticism.
Let's get the volume on here. Welcome, and I'm so glad that you're here. Let me just go back to this. So what the mystics have taught is something I'd like to look at. How many of you understand the definition of mystic? Anybody have a gander at it? What is a mystic? It's one of those words, yes. Okay, someone who looks into the mysteries of things that aren't easily explained. Would you agree with that? Okay. And we'll go a little deeper into that. Did you have something to say, Colvin? Okay. So we're going to look at what is a mystic. We're going to look at how do mysticism, stoicism, and psychism differ, and how does mysticism apply in my daily life? And I'm hoping that by the end of this presentation, you're going to realize that you are a stoic mystic. How about that? And maybe on some level, even a little psychic. So let's go and take a look. So a mystic is not a mysterious person, but the person who has a deep inner sense of life and their unity with the whole. And I think I'd take a step back and say it's someone who not only is starting to understand it, but is constantly searching. So I would say that each one of us comes here on a Sunday and does the kind of spiritual work that we do because we're looking for a deeper connection with the all that is. Just trying to find out what is this nebulous thing that we call spirit. Would you say that's true? And the word mystic is from the Greek mystikos. It means the pursuit of direct personal communion with God. Surprisingly, half of all Americans report that they've had a mystical or religious experience. How many of you have had what you would call a mystical experience, where you really truly just knew you were connected? And that's like half this room, if not even more. I remember the most recent one that was really dramatic for me was just at the point of waking up in the morning. And I was waking up from a dream, and you know how you know you're sort of almost awake, but not quite? And I felt myself embraced by what I imagined would be spirit. And that embrace was so incredibly full and loving that I woke up with tears of joy in my eyes and wished that I could just close my eyes and go back to that feeling. And I remember lying there for a few minutes and saying to myself, if this is the love beyond words, beyond understanding, that is this thing that I sometimes call the infinite field and sometimes call God, then wow, am I ever loved? And so I wish for everyone at some point in your life that you have the opportunity to really, as you do your spiritual work, to connect in a way that resonates with you, that you can say without a doubt, no matter what anybody else is experiencing, that you know there is this support, this love, this good, this benevolence that is in the unseen, but is constantly there, caressing you, holding you, saying yes to you. Because that really, truly was the most amazing thing I've ever experienced. Another mystical experience that I had was I was really struggling with life at this stage of the game in my life. And I was driving my car from where I was working to home. And as I was going over a bridge that was going over top of a railway track, there was a rainbow in the sky. And you know how when you see rainbows, they're typically a certain width, right? You know, and you might see a part of one, you might see, you know, a half of one. This was, if you imagine, if I looked at the sky, a cloud was about a third of the sky is what I was looking at. The rainbow was that wide from beneath the cloud down to the earth. And I remember thinking, I wish I was somewhere where I could take a picture of it, because it was so phenomenal. But it was like, it was speaking to me, it with the big eye, saying, there are rainbows behind these clouds. There is this huge rainbow behind these clouds. And I remember driving home and running into the house. Well, I wasn't running back then. Running to the house in my mind to tell Randy, come out and have a look. But by the time he came out, it was gone. It was like something I was meant to see only. And it was just that connection. So I invite you to start to just have the expectation that in some way, somehow, Spirit is communicating with you in exactly the personal way that you require, that you recognize and get the comfort from it. So how do mysticism, Stoicism, and Psychism differ? So a mystic sees life through the spiritual realm, where psychics work with the subjective realm, which is basically the human realm. They pick up human thoughts and feelings, and sometimes we'll see, like a prophet in the Bible would have seen, that if you keep doing this, this is what the consequences are going to be. And so there's a big difference there, and we all are psychic to a certain degree. I mean, it depends on whether you hone it or not as to how psychic you might be. But are you a mystic? Yes, you are that too. Because your search, your inner desire to know more about how life works, presents it to you in the ways that you understand. And maybe you're very intellectual and it shows up for you in scientific ways, that it's provable and all of those things, and you know that if you do this, that's the consequence in the spirit realm. Maybe it's that you are really, truly someone who meditates 3-4 hours a day and prays a lot of the time and lives in that spirit realm more than you do in the objective world. And so it's all perfect. And you have both going on. And both can be very deliberate. Psychics can differ greatly in the information they gather. And while mystics universally experience an awareness far beyond the physical. And you will find commonalities with people who claim to be mystics, or maybe they don't claim it, but they just walk it. Can you think of a few mystics? This particular spiritual center was founded on the mystic Jesus Christ. Then there's Buddha. Hildegard, yes. And all kinds of individuals who really dedicated their life to this connection with spirit. And I'm not for a second saying that that's how one ought to live their life, because we are physical beings having this human experience, even though we are spiritual too. What I do encourage you to do, though, is to focus a little more time on becoming the mystic, because then the physical life becomes that much better. So what is Stoicism? Anybody have any ideas before you read the text? Marcus Aurelius, who was the famous guy from Greece, or no, he was from Athens, Roman Athens. Yes, he was the Roman emperor. He wrote a book called Meditations, and it's a wonderful book, and it basically, to me, shows that he was a mystic and a stoic both at the same time. So a stoic teaches the development of self-control and fortitude as a means of overcoming destructive emotions. The philosophy holds that becoming a clear and unbiased thinker is the way to a really good life. And Stoicism allows one to understand the universal reason that things are the way that they are. And so when you are a mystic, you may not necessarily be thinking practical things like we teach here at Unity, where your thinking creates your life. You're more connected to that energy, that love that is spirit. But you become a stoic when you recognize that you have a responsibility in creating your life. You need to put feet and thoughts and actions to what it is that you hope to have happen. So essentially, you are both a mystic in your desire to want to be connected and to understand spirit, and you are a stoic because you're putting action to it. You're deliberately creating, you're setting intentions. And so Marcus Aurelius understood it from the standpoint of he didn't think about God so much, but recognized this universal principle and looked at it almost from a negative affirmation standpoint. And that was that if I do this, this is the consequence, so I won't do that. I'll do something else that has a different consequence. And essentially, in a kind of roundabout way, here at Unity we teach that as well, that your thoughts and your feelings and what you put out there creates your life. And so you become a Stoic when you not only recognize that, but you start working with it. Does that make sense? So are you starting to believe that you are a Stoic mystic? Yeah. Kind of an interesting concept. So, how does mysticism apply to my daily life? So let's look at some concepts and just see if you agree. So you value experiences above all else. So do you value experiences above all else? That's what life is all about, isn't it? Experiential. That's what makes us human. So you steer clear of strict doctrines and principles. Do you find when someone sets some really hard and fast rules that you kind of go, I don't know if I agree with this? I'd say most of us are probably that way. Have an innate intuition and a high level of trust in your own morality and your inner self. More so than what someone else tells you. You want to prove it to yourself. You want to believe it for yourself, not just take someone else's word for it. And that gut feeling that you have is something that guides you. If it doesn't feel good, it's like, oh, you know you're in trouble if you keep going, right? So driven to connect with the ultimate reality on through their own experience. There's a typo there. Driven to connect with the ultimate reality through their own experience. And I think we do that. Again, we don't take someone else's word for it. We really walk the walk, do the prayer work, do the meditation, do the deliberate creation, have the expectations. You may turn to others for perspective and opinions, however, not their main and only source of truth. So I don't know about you, but I know if I'm struggling with something, I'll ask the people that I trust in terms of that particular question, but I still ultimately make up my own mind. Would you say that you're the same? Yeah. You question existence. Why am I here? Why are we all here? And I'm sure there is not anyone in this room that hasn't asked that question. Like, what's this all about? You have the ability to see the connected strings behind every action. No necessity to understand or why it works. So I don't know about you, but I certainly see that if I do this, I get that consequence. Or now, today, I find that I'm walking the walk based on if something has happened, I look back to the string. How did I somehow bring that about in my life? What was it in my thinking, my believing, my actions that brought that to be? So you're comfortable with uncertainty. That one might be a little iffy for you. I am certainly getting there. So you understand that there is a plan behind every action. And that doesn't mean that you're a puppet or a marionette, but that you understand that if love is all there is and is continually evolving and growing, that when you're a true mystic, you understand that even if it doesn't look okay right now, that it's unfolding somehow. Like, I always think about the analogy of the field and when you plant new seeds, you have to turn it over. You have to put SHIT into the field. You have to do stuff to churn it up for something new to grow. And I would say that we all agree with that. So, are you ready as you move forward in your day, in your life, that when things get a little stinky or look a little stinky, that that's the fertilizer of the seeds that you've planted? So you trust that every action has purpose. And that can take a while to get to that place. And sometimes I forget. But absolutely every action does have a purpose on some level in you. You don't know what the next moment will bring. Are you comfortable with not knowing what the next moment will bring? Times where that's not true at all. And then there are times where I'm just fully trusting, and someone else might say to me, I don't know how you can trust in this situation, because sure doesn't look like it's going to be good. Trust in their connection to the universe, and that they can interpret any signs and act accordingly. And I'm here to invite you to know that if you don't know now, you will as you do this spiritual work for yourself. That when something shows up, like that rainbow that I saw, that it's a good omen. It's not that I believe in omens, but it's a sign that yes, have hope, keep going. And every one of us at some point or another when we're paying attention does feel that connection through those signs. And you have no desire to force the future. Oh, I've fallen into the trap of wanting to force the future. And how it's usually worked out has been exactly like I've expected. And that's not always been what I really needed. And so I've come to understand that when I don't try to force, that there's something I need to pay attention to. Something that is saying, no, that door is closed right now. Look for the open window. Look for another door. Look for another opportunity. Because life isn't intended to be hard, though sometimes it can be work. Think of the baby bird. Once it starts to grow inside the egg, it's not thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to be so much work to get out of this egg. It's just growing and starting to naturally move, and as a consequence, the egg shatters, and it becomes the next level of its life. And the same with us. So maybe you have outgrown something that's going on in your life, and you are naturally sometimes destroying the existing life that you have for that new life that's about to be, and don't know what that is. But having the faith to know that this is a natural progression of where you're going. You value intuition. Trust in their own intuition and value similar intuitive traits in others. Oh, I absolutely have lived intuitively my whole life. I was in the beauty business for about 40 years. And my connection with individuals, it was my intention to connect with every person as I worked with them. And I had the most amazing relationships with people that were very rewarding because of that intuition. And I'm sure that you can think about how intuition has played in your life, and as you have followed it or not, and what the consequences have been. And if you haven't, to maybe start paying attention to that. You're uncomfortable with spiritual hierarchies. Oh yes, I'm there for sure. Strict rituals or traditions have no place in the world of spirituality for mystics. And strict rituals meaning that you have to do things exactly a certain way or else it's just not right. More than one path or correct way to experience divinity? I'd agree with that. Because as I have done more of this work and more of this study, I actually can see how absolutely every person, even if it doesn't look like it, is finding their way back home, is the way that I like to kind of call it. Coming to a realization of what really is of value in life, and that is life itself and our own existence in it. Every person has a unique perception of life and the ability to experience a unique divinity to some extent. And that too took a while, a certain amount of maturity. It's very difficult when you're younger to think that someone else might see the world another way. We were driving the car the other day, and Randy said, oh, that green car is really nice. And then a few moments later he said, well, I guess it's more like gray. And when I looked at it, all I saw was gray. And it's an indication of how we sometimes can make the assumption that how someone sees life is exactly the way that we do. And yet it isn't. And it's one of the sure ways to have conflict in life is to make that assumption. And the thing is that we are each unique expressions of the divine. And so every way that we perceive, every way that we understand comes through our own understanding of it. And to be able to recognize that in others. And it's the one thing as a spiritual community that we really build and honor is this idea that yes, we may be all human beings and we may be male or female, but that there are so many subtleties that make us unique and beautiful and magnificent. You have your own set of rules. You feel a connection to every living thing, often look beyond what may be socially acceptable. Have you ever felt like you're marching to the beat of your own drum and how come? You're probably a mystic. Trust your own morality and intuition and are guided by your experience rather than the leaders in society. It's interesting, in Finland there is now a government that's almost all women. And the woman who is the president was being asked about what it was like to be a woman in that position and working with all these women and was she doing things differently. And she really attempted to bring home, hey, stop looking at me as a woman and look at me as a politician. Look at me as a human being rather than just labeling me as this narrow focus. And I remember when our prime minister first was voted in and they kept talking about how good looking he was and he would get angry almost at that. It's like, hey, I'm not here to be good looking. I'm here to do the job. And stop painting me with this, oh, you're a good looking guy first. And look at what it is that I'm bringing rather than who I am from the surface. Often make spiritual or even political rebels. Just sitting in unity, you're a spiritual rebel based on traditional Catholicism and all of that kind of thing, that you're willing to actually explore what is Spirit saying through you rather than how does someone else interpret it for you. So yeah, you're a rebel even if you're not willing to admit it. You value inner growth. Rituals and traditions trigger internal insight and transformation, not to appease a higher power. So there too, that we may pray holding our hands together, we may pray looking up, but it's not because we believe God is up there, but because somehow that puts us in the place of remembering what the truth is. If we put our hands together, it's just setting the intention that right now I'm taking the time to really connect. It's not that if my hands are a certain way, I'm going to be heard. Would you say that's true? Feel uncomfortable with structured religions. Why is it that we feel uncomfortable with structured religions? Because where is God? Within and everywhere. And what does God do? Everything. And where does God do it? Everywhere and within each of us. You feel a responsibility to help others to find their way. However, they don't tell them what is right or wrong. And I have certainly always walked that path when I see someone struggling and I've perhaps overcome that thing that they're struggling about. When I was younger, I thought that I could just impose my ideas on individuals and say, hey, well, if you do it this way, you're going to be happier. And I've discovered that now it's more of an invitation of, would you like to hear how I overcame that? Would you like to consider this idea rather than what you're doing now? You believe that you are a conduit for power, but not the source. Possess an understanding that every living thing must come and go, like one wave in an ocean. And that's such a big concept, this idea that we're only here for a certain amount of time, and that life is a gift, and that we get to do what we get to do for a short period of time. And in living life from that standpoint, boy, does it ever become precious. connection with everyone and everything. See their insights into the universe as a borrowed gift bestowed upon them by something greater and ultimately temporary. I have stopped using the word co-create in terms of with spirit, with the infinite field, whatever you want to call it, because I don't, as an individual, create anything. It does. It, whatever you want to call it, through me. I create the container through my thoughts, intentions, expectations, and beliefs, but I don't actually create it. It's like, I don't breathe me. I don't pump my own heart. I don't go, hey, heart, don't forget to pump. Just like spirit doesn't impose itself on us, it just is. And once you understand, and I know that all of you do, on some level, that the co-creation isn't exactly what happens. It's actually creation, and I'm not creating it. It is. So would you be willing to not use the word co-create unless it's, let's say, Jean and I are co-creating this thing. That's a different co-creation. You believe love is the source of life. I know after that mystical experience of feeling that unbelievable feeling of love, that I really now know, for me, on a deeper level, what love, that word love, really means. That just so supported. It's just fantastic. Believe that love powers everything. Everything is a reflection of a larger, all-encompassing love. Love is not something that originates in you, rather it's something that flows through you and every other being. It still is as nebulous as God, this word love, to me. It's more a feeling for me. Is that how you experience it? As a feeling? Is it something you see? Is it something you hear? Or is it all of those things? That you don't know everything. You don't think you know everything. You acknowledge the universe is infinite and mysterious and is far too complex for the human mind to fully comprehend. You don't know everything or need to. Enjoy learning new things and new perspectives, and see the journey as understanding, not preaching. And so if I forget, please remind me. But I'm not here to tell you how to do anything, or even what to do. Just from my own experiences, what has worked for me. And to not even believe me when I tell you, but to go out and experience it yourself. Because I don't have your wisdom, I don't have your perspective, I don't have your way of being in the world or your way of interacting. Your processing styles may be so diverse from mine. I mean, mine are very visual and then tactile. I can't learn something just by watching it. I need to actually do it too. Some people can watch it and they just are brilliant at it after. Some people have to hear it. And if they don't hear it, they don't understand. And so that's just a sort of on the surface of how we're all so very different. And so it's a really interesting challenge to be in a place of hopefully inspiring you to think grander about spirituality and about your life and how it works and your connection with spirit. And I hope that as I move forward as your spiritual director, your spiritual fitness coach, maybe I can call that you remind me if I forget. And I'll remind you if you forget. Would that be okay? So a mystical experience transcends time and space. It's the experience of the divine. It's beyond the senses and material reality. It's a realization of the perfection of life. It's a sense of sacredness and a realization of deep inner peace. It's a deep sense of interconnection with the whole universe and its creator. A mystic is one who intuitively perceives truth and who, without conscious mental process, arrives at spiritual realization. Like I know my mystical experiences, I didn't set out to have one, just like you don't set out to have dreams at night. You can't say to yourself when you go to sleep, okay, I'm going to dream a really good one tonight. Because you don't have control over that, just like your experiences with spirit, and the mystical ones especially, don't happen like that. Try and remember a dream. It's like, where does it go? Poof, it's gone. It's like, it was so good, but I can't even tell you what happened. And that's the thing, is that how do we chase it without chasing it? How do we experience it without setting the intention to really experience it? Boy, that's a kind of a interesting place to be, isn't it? So I invite you to think about the open hand, and rather than to try and hang on to something, to just be open to it showing up perfectly for you, because I know it does. In moments of deepest realization, the great mystics have sensed the one life flows through all, and that all are some part of that life. I remember my son when he was a young kid, and he was going with his stepbrothers to a different church, and one where they baptize you in the church in water. I don't remember what the faith was. And he came home and he said, "Mom, what is God?" And in my very rudimentary understanding of it, I said, you know when you close your eyes and essentially what you see is infinite? That's sort of what God is. You can't put a label on it. It's different for everyone. It's vast. It doesn't have any boundaries. And it's possible that anything is possible. And, you know, here's this little kid. He's like 8 years old, looks at me and goes, "Okay, Mommy." And he never went with his brothers again to the Sunday services at that other place because it didn't resonate with him. Because he had, at that point, I guess, a mystical experience and recognized that he now today actually spends more time connecting with people one-on-one and out in nature, because that's where he finds his connection. You have the power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. And this was Marcus Aurelius in the book Meditations. So David Hawkins wrote a book called Power versus Source. And this is a 4-minute video just to give you a synopsis of the book, and also the idea of how can you tap into the power of the all rather than trying to force it. And a few ideas on whether you're actually in the flow or not in the flow based on how you're feeling. Can you turn the volume up on this one?
The nature of true power is often confused with force. True power resides from within, while force is what people try to project onto others. Force is something that can get people to do things for a certain amount of time, but once it encounters true power, it crumbles. A good example is Gandhi's struggle for Indian independence from the United Kingdom. The British tried to apply the force of their large army, but when they were met with the resistance of the true power of love brought about by Gandhi's people, they collapsed. The book explains that the subconscious is very well attuned to whether something has a negative or positive benefit for the body, and the author has demonstrated it in front of hundreds of live audiences in the form of a test where you place your fingers on someone's arm and push down. If the person thinks of positive things, they'll be able to resist, but if they think of negative things, their strength gives way. This part of the book is a little strange and seems a bit exaggerated, so I'm going to hold off on judgment for a little bit on this. But I do know that sometimes you can sense negative energy emanating from some people, so I'm sure there's some truth to this portion of the book. Besides that though, one of the more profound aspects of the book can be found in the map of consciousness. What this is a scalable chart based on different levels of consciousness ranging from 0, which is shame, all the way up to 1000, which is enlightenment, or essentially, Jesus. All levels below 200 are destructive of life in both the individual and society at large. In contrast, all levels above 200 are constructive expressions of power. The decisive level of 200 is the fulcrum that divides the general areas of force or falsehood from power or truth. The level 200 is listed as courage. This chart is interesting because it shows that anger is not the worst emotion you can feel, and that shame and guilt are far more negative. Anger, although not ideal, is able to get you moving in the right direction. and can eventually elevate into courage. The map of consciousness is as follows: 20, shame; 30, guilt; 50, apathy; 75, grief; 100, fear; 125, desire; 150, anger; 175, pride; 200, courage; 250, neutrality; 310, willingness; 350, acceptance; 400, reason; 500, love; 540, joy; 600, peace; and 700 and above is enlightenment. For the first time in human history, the global consciousness has passed the threshold of 200 and is on a positive upward climb. Even though we still have negative things going on in the world as a whole is still above the negative consciousness level. To conclude, power is a searing hot coal, whereas force is a raging brush fire. Force is something you apply, whereas power is something that you are. All the bosses who don't believe in themselves will apply force to try and make you do what they want so they can feel they are justified being in the position that they are. Whereas a true leader understands the role they are to play and acts accordingly. True leaders inspire loyalty, and imposters rule by employing fear. Study up on this map of human consciousness and try and make your decisions every day come from a level of higher consciousness as opposed to lower consciousness. As Nelson Mandela once said, may your choices reflect your hopes, not your fears. So try and thrive every day in your life instead of just trying to survive and exist. Try and live through power and not just apply force.
How many of you have read that book, Power versus Force? I invite you to get it if you haven't. I think we even had one in the library, a copy of it in the other room. It's really interesting because it basically is more of an intellectual approach to this idea of being in alignment with the spirit within. And so when you're feeling those feelings of courage and beyond, peace and understanding and non-judgment and all of the things that we talk about here on Sundays and in the classes that we teach, that you really truly are becoming the mystic as a consequence of that. So are you a stoic, a mystic, or both? I'd say you're both. Would you agree? So say this affirmation with me if that's comfortable. I open my eyes, my ears, my heart, and my mind to the infinite presence and discover within me self the great mystery. And what will you sing for us today to land this home?
One power.
Wow,
One power.
perfect.
One power, one power, one power. There's one power invisible, and you see it everywhere and every day. One power indescribable, and you speak of it with every word you say. Mysterious until you know the truth, as simple as the love inside of you. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, angels' wings or heaven's door. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? It's the power of the love in you and me. One power, oh, one power, one power. We speak so many languages, have different clothing, different colors, different names, but different is only dangerous when we forget that in our hearts we're all the same. And when we remember, when we close our eyes to see that such distances were never meant to be. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, Hashem, or heaven's door. It's Muhammad, it's your mind, it's your soul, or it's your sign. It's the universe, it's music, Mother Earth or Father Time. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? Whatever name you give it, it's the very air we breathe. It's the power of the love in you and me. One power, oh, one power, one power. One power, one power, one power. It's the moment of creation. It's an everlasting peace. It's the freedom of forgiveness. It's the sweetness of release. It's the joy of inspiration. It's the sunshine on your face. It's the birthright of all nations. It's the boundlessness of space. It's the beauty of a baby, the serenity of sleep. It's the anger we abandon for its love that's most deep. It's one power, one power. What we are is one power is the power of the love that lives forever in you and me. It's the power of the love in you one power.
Wow, thank you, Emilio. Wow, it's time for conscious giving. If you're comfortable, please say this with me. Divine love through blesses and multiplies all I have, all I give, and all I receive. Because I am that, and so it is. Thank you for your generosity. Your donations help provide these events and our online presence. We accept credit cards, debit, and e-transfers too. One more fabulous song from Emilio. Yay!
This is my other favorite song. It's the prayer.
Why don't you sit down?
be alright, and watch us where we go, to help us to be wise in times when we don't know. Let this be our prayer as we go our ways. Lead us to a place, guide us with your grace, to a place where we'll be safe. La luce che tu dai, I pray we'll find your light. Nel cuore resterà, and hold it in our hearts, a ricordarci che when stars go out each night, l'eterna stella sei. Nella mia preghiera, let this be your prayer. Quanta felice when shadows fill our days. Lead us to a place, guide us with your grace. Give us faith so we'll be safe. A world where pain and sorrow will be ended, and every heart that's broken will be mended, and we'll remember we are all God's children, reaching out to touch you, reaching to the sky. La forza che ci dai, we as a life be kind, and desiderio che, and watch us from above. Ognuno troia amore, behold, each soul will find, intorno e dentro sé, another soul to love. Let this be our prayer. Let this be our prayer. Just like every child need to find a place. Guide us with your grace. Give us faith so we'll be safe. E la fede che hai sceso in noi. Sento che ci
Received in love, all my desires and needs
are met by Spirit through me, and so it is.
Thank you. And I have an envelope here which has tickets in it for Dedry's fabulous Valentine's concert. And that's on
15th.
Saturday, February 15th. So please put it on your calendar. Please get a ticket that you can buy them, I think, online as well. There's a
Eventbrite, yes.
Eventbrite.
It's on the
Yeah.
screen.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Mhm.
Closing prayer.
So join with me in consciousness. In this oneness, I know I am guided by grace. For the all that is ultimate good, the ultimate love that is beyond words. So today, in this moment, in my humanness, I know that what I have available to me is infinite possibilities. And the feeling of this grace, of this love, as I open up to it more. So I say to it, I invite you. I invite you to show me in ways that are just perfect for me, that are personal for me. I invite you, because I am open, to show me the way. What is my next natural step? What is the next natural thing to bring about an awareness of who I actually am? I feel so blessed, so grateful. This oneness is all that is. And so in this now moment, I say yes, yes to everything, because I know it's my good unfolding in every way. So I let go and I let it be so. Please join with me in saying, and so it is.
Here I come. Okay. All right, let's think. Here I come. I am spirit filled, renewed and refilled. I got a song in my heart, with joy I dance in my heart. I am on cloud nine, one with the divine. I got a smile on my face, and I'm ready to face the world. Here I come. Woo! Here I come. Yeah, here I come. Oh yeah. Yes, here I come. I am harmonized, upgraded and revised. I've got love in my heart and the courage to start. Here I come. Here I come. Yeah, here I
No, not that one. Lord's Prayer, yeah.